What's up? So today is, as you can tell by the title, a French lesson. For those of you that may be new to my channel, basically all you need to know is that I want everyone to speak French and I want everyone to go to France. Basically my channel. So welcome. But today I'm focusing on direct and indirect objects. This is the topic that I see a lot of people struggle with because I'm a tutor at my university and I used to as well a lot. So I thought I would talk about that today. As you'll see in the video, I'm just showing you how to decide which pronoun to use and where it goes. But this is only in sentences when there's only one object pronoun that needs to be used. But there are also, like, as you get into more complex sentences, there are sentences where there's like 2 or 3, maybe even more, I don't know. But there's multiple object pronouns, direct or indirect, that you need to use. And there's 2 that I won't mention in this video. I'll do another video on those, a shorter video, explaining those and also explaining the order when you have multiple. But today I'm just going to focus on sentences when you only have one, just the base, basically. First thing you need to know is the difference between a direct and indirect object. How do you tell the difference? What makes a difference? So it's with the verb. If you can go directly from the verb in your sentence to the noun that it's acting upon without a preposition, such as a, then if you can do that without using preposition, it's direct. If you need that preposition, it's indirect. For example, je vois la fille, I see the girl, versus the sentence je dis à la fille, I say to the girl. Or it could be a boy, which I'll explain later. In the indirect pronouns, there's no distinction between gender, so masculine and feminine. So this one, je vois la fille, is direct because je vois la fille, I see the girl. Nothing in between, no preposition. But here you have je, c'est quoi? I say to the girl. So then that makes the girl the indirect object of the verb di. So that's the difference. So in French there's a lot of verbs that use the a right after to follow directly by it, and so those are always going to be indirect. There are some exceptions, of course, but that's just like with everything ever. So for example, verbs like donner quelque chose à quelqu'un, ressembler à quelqu'un, téléphoner à quelqu'un, dire à quelqu'un, prêter à quelqu'un, verbs like that. So those are all going to be indirect. Now that we know the difference to distinguish between direct and indirect, let's go back and focus just on direct. For example, our sentence, je vois la fille. So what we want to do is we want to replace la fille, the girl. So to form our sentence with the noun replaced, using our direct object pronoun, because this is a direct object, first we have to figure out which direct object pronoun matches our noun, la fille, in gender and number. So masculine, feminine, singular, plural. So here are all the direct object pronouns. So we have me, te, le, la, nous, vous, and les. So la fille, obviously feminine, and la is one. So feminine, singular. So the one we choose is la. Now that we've chosen the direct object pronoun that works in our sentence, you take out the direct object, which is la fille. Now you just have je vois. Now for the placement, direct object pronouns basically always, there's exceptions, whatever, but basically direct object pronouns always go directly before the verb. So you take your la, your direct object pronoun that you've chosen, and you do je la vois. I see her. See what I did? Hopefully that's just pretty easy. I don't know. So another example that's a bit different, just to reinforce. If I said je n'aime pas les abeilles, I don't like bees, which I fucking do. We want to replace les abeilles, the bees. So is abeille masculine or feminine, and is it singular or plural? To be honest, I don't really know if it's masculine or feminine, but luckily it doesn't matter because it's plural, so that means it's not le, it's not la, it has to be les. So gender doesn't matter right here, just for this example. So I got lucky, but yeah, so it's plural, so it's gonna be les. Now you take out les abeilles. Je n'aime pas, take out les abeilles. So now you have your direct object pronoun, which is les. So you put it directly before the verb. So now you have je ne les aime pas. Because aimer, that's your verb, and you put it directly before. I threw in a negation just to kind of show you. I hope it doesn't throw you off, but when you have negation, you're going to put the ne part, and then you're going to put your direct pronoun, your indirect pronoun, then your verb, and then the pas. So je ne les aime pas. I don't like them. See? Also, another note, in order to use these direct object pronouns, the preceding article of the noun that's in your sentence needs to be definite. So, le, la, les, ton tate, son sase, mon mame, ce, cette. Yeah, so that's basically it for direct. Now indirect. So like I said before, what makes something indirect is the fact that the verb has a preposition following it. So there's a preposition between the verb and the noun. That's what makes it indirect. Anytime a verb has like the a with the accent grave after it, like some of those examples I listed, I'll put them up on the screen again. Those are always indirect. There's obviously examples of ones that don't have that, but they are indirect. But just to keep this simple for now, I'm going to use those because they're easy to work with visually. Here I'm going to put all of the indirect object pronouns. As you can see, they're basically the same as the direct ones, except for where you see Louis. In the direct it was le, la, and les, but for here it's Louis. And then for direct, when we saw it said les, here it's now leur. So one thing to note is that her and him in this situation, when you're using indirect, the Louis has no gender distinction. So I guess you kind of get lucky there like I did earlier. So it's just Louis for both him and her. Another thing to remember is that indirect object pronouns are used only to replace nouns that refer to a human, like a person. Before I do my example, I just want to say, don't use English to help you with this, because I know there's some concepts with the French language where knowing English can help you and you can understand better. Sorry if there's noise. This will definitely confuse you because sometimes, like in French, a verb would take an indirect object, that same verb translated into English would not, and vice versa. So for example, the verb écouter in French, you don't say écouter à quelque chose. Tu dis juste écouter quelque chose, so direct. You don't say I listen to music in French, you just say I listen music. But in English, we say I listen to music, so indirect. But in French, it's not indirect, it's direct. And then going the other way, for example, in French, they say dire à quelqu'un. So à, tell to someone. But in English, you just say tell someone. We don't say tell to someone. So it's direct in English, but indirect in French. See what I mean? Just so don't use English to help, because it won't. So to form a sentence that has an indirect object, let's just take our example from earlier, which was je dis à ma mère. You know it's indirect because I'm telling you and it's part of the indirect half of this video. But so yeah, figure out if it's indirect or direct. It's indirect because there's the preposition between the verb and the noun. Je dis à ma mère. Your indirect noun is ma mère. Now choose out of that chart, choose which is the proper indirect object pronoun that would be used to replace ma mère. One thing to keep in mind, with indirect object pronouns, gender doesn't matter. Only number, so singular, plural. So, ma mère is feminine, but it doesn't really matter. And there's one of her. So, first person, singular, Louis. See what I mean? So, Louis is our indirect object pronoun. So now, you take out not only the indirect object, but you take out the a, the preposition part. So basically it's the same as how we did for the direct object pronouns. Same thing, same placement. You put the indirect object pronoun directly before the verb. So je dis à ma mère, take out à ma mère, then put in Louis directly before the verb. So you have je lui dis. I tell her, or I tell to her. I hope that makes sense and wasn't too confusing. Also, don't forget that a can also be disguised as o, or O with an X, and that would act the same way. If I said la femme parle aux enfants, O is the same as a, so it's also indirect. I'm going to leave it at that. Like I said in the beginning of the video, there are 2 more pronouns that I would like to discuss, but I didn't want this video to be too long, so that's it for now. Let me know if you understood. Please, like, seriously, comment or, I don't know, message me. Tell me if this made sense, if you understood, or if it's not clear at all. I won't be offended. I just want to make sure like people are understanding at least, or I made it a little bit clearer. But be nice, don't be a bitch. Don't be like, this shit didn't make no fucking sense. Just be nice about it, but like, you know, tell me the truth.
When you say you won't forget me, well, I can 'cause every day since you left me, I've thought less and less of you, and I've worn out all the reasons to keep on knocking at your door. Could be the changing of the seasons, but I don't love you anymore.
So, fuck. The girl, if La Fille is the direct, oh my god.